Because Will has something going on inside him. You do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody.
When Jim Carrey finally broke his silence about the Oscars, nobody expected the level of insight he dropped. The man who's made generations laugh wasn't joking this time. He was exposing the raw, uncomfortable truth behind Hollywood's glitz. Carrey revealed that the standing ovation Will Smith received immediately after slapping Chris Rock wasn't just a bizarre moment. It was a glaring example of an industry that prioritizes money over morality. "I was sickened," Carrey said, calling Hollywood spineless, explaining that celebrating someone who committed assault in front of millions of viewers showed the system's willingness to protect profitable stars at all costs. And Carrey isn't some bitter has-been. He reinvented what it meant to be a movie star, from Ace Ventura and The Mask to The Truman Show and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, always taking risks while maintaining integrity. When someone like Carrey speaks, the words carry weight. Eddie Murphy, another comedy legend who has long avoided Hollywood circus, confirmed the sentiment, using his platform at the 81st Golden Globes to call out Smith, warning him to mind his business and respect boundaries, sending a clear message about toxic masculinity and hypocrisy. Carrey went even deeper, analyzing the psychological root of Smith's reaction. It wasn't about defending Jada, he argued. It was ego-driven frustration, a need to protect a carefully curated persona built over decades. Hollywood, he explained, created a $9 billion avatar of Will Smith, the perfect family man, the hero, the protector, whose image demanded constant validation. The industry doesn't protect people for friendship or morals, it protects money. Studios, award shows, and the media turned a blind eye to questionable behavior because Smith was a guaranteed profit machine. The standing ovation wasn't personal, it was an investment shield. And that, Carrey argued, is why Hollywood's moral compass is broken. The system rewards performance and profit, not character. By pulling back the curtain, Carrey and Murphy revealed what so many insiders have long known but never dared to say out loud. Fame and fortune create a bubble where accountability rarely exists, and sometimes the biggest laughs come with the harshest truths. Live television doesn't allow for edits, it doesn't allow for control, and once that slap happened, there was no going back. The corruption became visible, the machine exposed, and Jim Carrey highlighted a point many missed. Chris Rock should have pressed charges. What Will Smith did was assault, captured on camera and witnessed by millions, yet Rock opted out, avoiding legal hassle and the scrutiny that comes with being a celebrity plaintiff. Carrey argued that if it were him, he would have announced that very morning he was suing Smith for $200 million because the insult and the act would exist forever on video, a permanent stain that the assailant should pay for. By not holding Smith accountable, Hollywood sent a clear message. Violence has consequences only if you're not rich enough, not powerful enough, and not making the right people money. Carrey and Eddie Murphy also pointed to the red table talk deception, revealing how the show turned marital issues into monetized content, framing Will as the long-suffering hero who forgave, controlled the narrative, and buried uncomfortable truths. Carrey explained that Will had created an avatar, a perfect image that had become more real than the man himself, a persona demanding constant validation, stripping away his humanity and leaving him trapped inside a character he'd played for decades. This wasn't just about Smith, it was Hollywood's complicity, enabling, protecting, and rewarding behavior as long as profit flowed. The industry applauded, gave him trophies, and let him compare himself to Richard Williams protecting the Williams family, further cementing the spineless protection Carrey condemned. This systemic shield eventually cracked. After the Oscars, Will's movie Emancipation flopped at the box office and failed to gain awards attention. For the first time in 30 years, Will Smith was no longer untouchable, all because Carrey and Murphy pulled back the curtain, exposing a culture that valued money over accountability, image over reality, and profit over principles. Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy speaking out changed everything because they gave other people permission to ask the questions nobody had dared to ask before. They show that you don't have to play along with Hollywood's fake narratives, that you don't have to blindly support people just because they've been packaged as icons. Fans' willingness to excuse or rationalize everything Will Smith does began to erode. People started seeing patterns in his behavior, the humiliation of Janet Hubert on The Fresh Prince, the way he treats service workers, the way he manufactures drama only to recast himself as the victim. The $9 billion man,
The guy who was once considered too big to fail suddenly discovered there's a limit to how much bad behavior even Hollywood will tolerate, not because the industry suddenly has principles, but because continuing to support him had become bad business. And when supporting Will Smith turned from a safe bet into a financial risk, suddenly everyone in his orbit became more cautious about aligning themselves with him. But why does this matter to you? Because what Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy exposed isn't just about celebrity scandal, it's about power, systemic protection, and the way money can buy immunity from consequences. Think about your own life. How often have people gotten away with horrible behavior simply because they were too valuable to the system, because speaking up would cost someone else something? That standing ovation at the Oscars, that applause for someone who had assaulted another human being in front of billions, that was Hollywood sending the message that financial and social leverage can override morality. And things began to change only because two people with nothing to gain but their integrity decided to speak up. Jim Carrey revealed that Hollywood is a machine built on fake images and manufactured personalities. The people we think we know, the people we idolize on screen, are often just avatars, carefully constructed, endlessly maintained products designed to sell us entertainment, products, and reassurance, while simultaneously enriching others. Eddie Murphy reinforced the lesson, showing that sometimes the most powerful action is refusing to participate in a lie. When he finally appeared on the Golden Globes and spoke directly about Will Smith, it wasn't just humor, it was a deliberate exposure of the system, a refusal to reward the wrong behavior. Together, these two comedy legends pulled back the curtain and revealed what many of us suspected: Hollywood is spineless. It will protect anyone as long as profit flows, and it will discard you the moment you stop being profitable. That is the lesson they forced everyone to reckon with. And the questions we should be asking ourselves are simple but uncomfortable. Why did the industry applaud someone who was wrong? Why did the media shield someone who deserved criticism? Who profits when the whistleblower is attacked instead of the perpetrator? Chris Rock got slapped and became the target of blame. Janet Hubert asked for fair pay and was branded difficult. Jim Carrey spoke the truth and was dismissed as bitter. The machine protects itself, always, unless people like Eddie Murphy and Jim Carrey decide to break the cycle. And breaking that cycle comes with a cost. It's easy to say someone should speak up, but far harder to be the one who actually does it. Jim Carrey was semi-retired, didn't need Hollywood, yet still risked everything to call out the spinelessness of the industry. Eddie Murphy had spent decades avoiding drama, yet chose that moment to make a statement that transcended comedy. Both understood the potential consequences: backlash, ostracization, other celebrities distancing themselves, but they did it anyway. That's courage, the kind of courage that forces uncomfortable truths into the light. And make no mistake, Will Smith's behavior fits a textbook gaslighting narcissist. Doug Ellen, creator of Entourage, called Smith a gaslighting narcissist, and when you connect the dots, the accusation is strikingly accurate. A person who manipulates events to make themselves the victim, who twists narratives to serve their image, who makes everything about themselves, even moments that were never supposed to be about them. The Oscars slap happened during Chris Rock's moment. The Red Table Talk episodes were framed to make Will the long-suffering heroic partner. Janet Hubert asked for fair pay and was reframed as difficult, as the problem. Each situation was systematically manipulated to place Will Smith at the center, the hero, the victim, the star of his own narrative. That is what Jim Carrey recognized when he talked about Will's avatar, and the industry's reaction revealed the complicit machinery. But here's the fascinating part. After Carrey and Murphy spoke, Hollywood went silent, and that silence is louder than any statement could ever be, because it confirms that the truth has always been known. They just hadn't wanted to say it out loud, because protecting Will Smith had been more profitable. Once Carrey and Murphy broke the seal, the wall of protection began to crumble. Studios that would have greenlit any Will Smith project became cautious. Award shows that would have welcomed him with open arms suddenly had scheduling conflicts. Media outlets that would have offered him softball interviews started asking harder questions, not because of newfound principles, but because the cost-benefit analysis changed. Supporting Will Smith had become risky business, not safe business. and the legacy of their action will be felt for decades. Years from now, people will recognize this as a turning point, not because of Will Smith's behavior alone, but because of what Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy did in response. They refused to play along. They refused to let the lie stand unchallenged. They used their platforms to speak truths that no one else dared to say, and in doing so, they made it easier for the next person to do the same. Every time someone in power tells the truth, the protective wall around abusers weakens. Jim Carrey didn't just criticize a standing ovation, he exposed an entire system. Eddie Murphy didn't just make a joke, he made a statement about who deserves protection and why. For 30 years, Will Smith had nowhere to hide, but now, for the first time, that protection is gone. The image is cracked. All of this happened because two comedy legends decided that truth mattered more than comfort, integrity mattered more than access, and courage mattered more than fear. The question for you is, what truth have you been too afraid to speak? What systems have you been complicit in protecting because it's easier than confronting them? Jim Carrey told the world the truth about power, about Hollywood, about image versus reality.